For all you Patriots fans out there, know this movie's not about Bill Belichick or Tom Brady. Get out of here. Patriots Day is the third Peter Berg and Mark Wahlberg installment where Peter Berg is the director, Mark Wahlberg is the lead actor. The first movie they did being Lone Survivor, the second earlier this year, Deepwater Horizon, and now Patriots Day. Now, I want to say right away, Lone Survivor, I did enjoy. I thought it was a good film. Deepwater Horizon, I thought was better than Lone Survivor. And Patriots Day is the best out of the three. For me, personally, Patriots Day is about the Boston bombing. And this movie could have gone two different ways, really. They could have made a movie that was just a cheap throwaway thriller and exploited these people's situations. But instead, they did not do that. They made the correct movie. They did it in a correct way, in a very respectful manner, an elegant manner, and just a beautiful film is what they made here, guys. This movie is not cheaply made. It's not some cheap gimmicks. It has great performances, a great story, and it pays such deep respect to everyone involved. Both the responders, the police officers, the heroes, the everyday heroes who responded in that situation, but also the victims of that horrific incident. I remember this. People are asking me, and this is only 3 years ago, no, 4, because it's 2017, less than 4 years ago, 2013, people are asking me, is it too soon to make this film? And it could have been, if they would have done like what I said, just made some cheap action movie or thriller out of it. But they didn't. They made a beautiful film that when I was sitting in the theater, I was so pleased and so pleasantly surprised that they took the higher route to this movie with great writing, great performances, and such great compassion for what happened. They made a really tremendous movie. Now, I've got a lot of positives to this movie, but right away, I just want to say the performances. Mark Wahlberg is really, really good in this movie. I don't think he's as good as he was in Deepwater Horizon. That being said, this movie's a better movie than Deepwater Horizon, but Mark Wahlberg was better in Deepwater Horizon, if that makes sense. J.K. Simmons was also good. He was there for brief moments. He has a lot of quick one-liners in comedy that I'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, he was very good in it. All the supporting cast, everyone involved in this movie does a really good job. The performances are great all around. The direction, this is my favorite direction that Peter Berg has taken in all three movies. I really love the direction. Right away, they open up this scene. There's more comedy in this one too than, say, Deepwater Horizon, Lone Survivor. But right away they open, and right away there's a really close shot to Mark Wahlberg's face, and he's just being a cop, he's doing his day job, and I hope the movie is not like that the entire time. It felt very claustrophobic, and it's not. It's literally in that first scene. Then all the other shots are very well shot. They're very long, and it's a beautiful, beautifully shot movie. Speaking of the shots, the cinematography is fantastic. The shots over Boston, over the sunsets, over the city, over the marathon runners, over Fenway Park. It's so beautiful. This movie is really a love letter to Boston, about not just the city, but the people, how they came together on this day. There's an interview at the end, because they have, minor spoiler alert, at the very end, like end credits, they interview the people at the end, like some real people who part of the bombing, the victims of it. And one person said something, I'm kind of paraphrasing here, about how the terrorists, they succeeded in that they brought out terror from these people. They brought out terror in us, and they brought out fear, and this travesty did that, but it also brought out the best of us too. And I loved that, because that movie, that's the message of this movie. Yes, these terrible, terrible individuals who did such a terrible thing on this day brought out the worst in humanity, really. This fear, this terror that they brought upon us, but they also brought out the best in us, and that they were not counting for. I also love how the way they put this movie together is kind of the way how it was experienced at the time. Like the explosions, they're not like building up. Yeah, you can tell the movie's building up to what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen, but you don't know exactly when it's going to happen. When the first explosion hits, you're like, holy shit. Like, you weren't expecting it. But I love that, because that's what it was like for them. They had no idea this was going to happen. So I love that when that first explosion hit, you're surprised, just like everyone who experienced it were surprised. For negatives, though, because those, I have a lot more positives too, but those are just the main ones. For the negatives, there are a lot of different storylines right away. They tell it in about 5 or 6 different pieces, whether like the victims, the police officers, whoever. A couple of them right away I did not care about, specifically one with a cop, and he's kind of asking this girl out. I did not care about that story right away. A couple of them I really was like, these are throwaway stories. I don't need that. Just focus on Mark Wahlberg, J.K. Simmons. But how those stories resolved, I thought were really effective and worked really well. And because of those different storylines, the story can get a little disjunct at times. You're kind of going around back and forth, and it's not confusing, but it takes you out of it just a hair. It did for me, where I'm like, let's focus on one right away instead of going back and forth. Not a huge issue, but to the fact that it was noticeable for me. Also, Kevin Bacon's character, who plays the FBI, like the leader of the investigation, they're at a point where it was really, I loved how the drama, how they were deciding right after it happened. He comes in there investigating. They're like, well, is this terrorism? Like, he gives this great spiel about how we can't just label it terrorism for these reasons, and you understand that. You're like, okay, I get that. But then like 2 minutes later, he walks over to the bombing site, picks up something, he's like, it's terrorism. Well, it's like you completely contradicted yourself by doing that. You were saying how we can't just quickly label it terrorism, but then he walks over, looks at something, boom, and it's terrorism. Like he knew right away. So he contradicted himself completely in that situation. That just really, really bugged me when I was sitting in theaters. Like I said before, there's a lot more comedy in this movie than say like Lone Survivor or Deepwater Horizon. Most of it works. A lot of it's from like J.K. Simmons. A lot of it's good humor. It's not like slapstick, just throwaway, stupid humor. It fits in the time. Most of the time, I'd say like 70%, 75% of the time it worked for me. Like say there's one scene with J.K. Simmons where he like tackles someone. I'm not going to spoil the whole thing. But he's like gets up, just a huge brawl, right? That he had this really like intense. And he just gets up, he's panting, he's like, I need to quit smoking. And like that stuff's funny because in natural life situations, you do crack jokes when you're uncomfortable or you're scared or whatever. You do that. But then there are at times like in the middle of like a firefight or some really intense situation and they're like shooting at someone and there's some laugh, there's some joke. It's like that. I don't see that happening. Those like the jokes for the most part were placed well. Not the ones like right in the middle of things, but for the most part, the comedy did hit pretty well for me. Guys, overall, this movie surprised me and is a damn good flick. Peter Berg and Mark Wahlberg are quickly rising to be some of the best tandem, the actor-director tandem, pair-up, whatever, in the business. I'm not saying to say they're at like Leo DiCaprio and Scorsese level, but they are making quality films, and I'm so happy for this, and this is their best one yet. Guys, I'm going to give Patriots Day an 8.2 out of 10. Definitely worth watching in theaters.
Love versus hate. There's only one weapon you have to fight back with. It's love. We wrap our arms around each other. I don't think there's any way that they can ever win.
Always gotta love listening to some Boston accents. You know, my friends and I, we do Boston accents. You know, we do that back and forth all the time. You know, what's going on, huh? What's going on, huh? All right, I'm done with that. Sorry, guys. Thanks so much for watching this review of Patriots Day, guys. Thanks as always. Make sure to leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought of Patriots Day. It's not doing that well in the box office. Should it be getting more recognition? I think it should be. Guys, make sure to leave this video with a like too, and subscribe, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter for more movie reviews and other fun things from this channel. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we will see you next time.